Hi everyone, CeeChronicles here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're joining this channel for the very first time, we do a lot of fragrance reviews here, guys. So I would appreciate it if you considered joining this channel by subscribing. And to those who are returning, thank you so much, guys, for the continued support. I appreciate you as always. Now, welcome to a pros and cons of the latest Lattafa releases. I have featured about 10 on my channel, and these are fragrances that I believe are 2023 compositions. Our number one is going to be Lattafa's Safwaan Lautre Oud. For all of them, I'm going to start with the pros, and this is not in any particular order. This is going to appeal to people who love very sugary fragrances and vanilla leaning because it does have that like brown sugar feel to it. For instance, if you are into baking and you bought that brown sugar, I can't remember. I know it's got a name for it, but it comes with, it's a very brown sugar with like some dampness to it. I get that from this fragrance. So this is going to appeal to people who love those kind of fragrances. In as much as it says Lautre Oud there, the oud here is not skanky. It's nothing to run away from. It's not a typical oud that Lattafa has done a gazillion times. Okay, it is a very wearable oud. And then the last pro for this fragrance that I can think of is, in as much as it does have that sweetness, it is a balance for both genders. So marketed unisex is definitely befitting for this fragrance. For this fragrance, guys, to me is it comes across as a skin scent. It is a fragrance that the wearer is going to enjoy as opposed to it having like a projection. Another con for this fragrance is the DNA itself that will remind you of some of the Lattafas that are on the market already. So that is it for our number one, which is Lattafa Safwaan Lautre. The next fragrance, guys, I'm going to bring in its packaging, and this is this. I like, the packaging. I like the color. So because of that presentation and packaging, this is definitely going to make a great gift. Most people will like this kind of presentation. Not going to disappoint if you like florals. It is a very floral forward fragrance with mostly the jasmine there taking center stage. So if you're a sucker for florals, this is definitely going to do it for you. Crowd pleasing, it's Western leaning. So if you are one that is skeptical about the Lattafas, this one does not have any, like hidden spices that will come there to choke you out. If you love, your heavy floral leaning scents, like the Elixir Royal, like the Amouage Honor, like the Gucci Flora, this is definitely going to be a great alternative, which is going to satisfy, anyone who has that kind of nose. Now, the cons for this fragrance, that for some it's going to be, is that it? You know what I mean? The fact that the DNA in itself is not groundbreaking. So it does not seem to match the effort, that they decided to put here. If you're a heavy sprayer or if you are not considerate of the people around you, this particular DNA can be a bit choking, for some. I mean, if you spend the day in the office with your colleagues, it might be one fragrance that is a bit too much. Though marketed unisex, this particular DNA has always been targeted, especially, for the females. So it does have that outright, feminine feel to it. So it is something to point out there for the men who might be attracted to this fragrance. Yes, it is doable for men, but you've got to love your bold florals. In as much as it has that note pyramid with, black currant at the top, suggesting it's going to have a fruitiness there. It doesn't have a perfect balance of the fruits and the florals. You're just going to get, a little bit of that at the top, and then, it shifts into that jasmine leaning floral forward scent. So it's linear. There are no twists and turns to this fragrance, just a one-dimensional kind of fragrance. So either you love florals or you don't. So that's what I can say, guys, about Lattafa Iman. Our number 3 on this list, guys, is going to be Mahia Legacy. Okay, Mahia Legacy is another latest composition from Lattafa. By latest, guys, I mean 2023. Mahia is obviously duping Perfumes de Mole's Sedley. So that is going to be a pro for it. The fact that, this is an attempt on a fragrance that was created by an impressive fragrance house, if you will, Perfumes de Mole. They have a lot of successes on the market there. So that's going to be a pro if you are looking for an alternative, considering that the PDMs are mostly not on the affordable side. Another pro for this fragrance is the fact that it is unisex, and it lives up to that. It has that element of freshness, a light aromatic thing to it there. Also has like a minty, camphorous, lavender and rosemary there. So it is got some aromaticness there. So if that helps, instead of it just being a, you know, like a one-dimensional freshie, it does have elements of aromaticness there. The next thing that I can say is a plus for this fragrance is the versatility. I feel this fragrance suits all occasions, really. You know, it would do suit and tie, casual, it will do picnic, it will do out with your friends, out in the pub sort of thing. So it is a fragrance that is quite versatile in that regard. It's blind buy safe. It's also safe for gifting because the DNA in itself is quite doable for a lot of people. Now let us get into what I feel are the cons for this fragrance. Number one is don't buy it expecting it to align with the other two that are in this line. There is 3 in this Mahia line. There's a clear one, there's a black one, and then there's obviously this one. The black one is a very loud with, you know, that Middle Eastern touch, as well as the clear one actually. Both of those fragrances are beasts. This one disassociates itself from the two. It's a light fragrance, it's a freshie. So that is one thing that you should, you know, have in mind there when you're purchasing Mahia Legacy. Another con for this fragrance is obviously going to be the performance, considering that it is a citrus. So this subscriber said, and it was hilarious but very educative as well. They said, imagine, you know, making a salad first thing in the morning, putting it on the counter there for visitors that are going to come late at night, and then they walk in and you say, oh, it's so fresh, I made it first thing in the morning. You know, that's not going to go that well, okay, because the citruses, the way the citruses are made are such that, you know, they will have a lasting power but are not beastly. So don't expect a lot of beastly performances, you know, from citrus fragrances. And that is what I can say about this one. It's going to be a fragrance that you definitely may have to reapply, and if you don't mind that, then that's okay. But if you do, then it's going to be a definite con for Mahia Legacy by Lattafa. The next fragrance on the lineup, guys, is going to be from this collection, and this is Haya. The packaging is similar to, you know, the other two that I have here, but what I can say about this particular one is it is one which I wouldn't say the packaging is deceiving. It gives me femme fatale, mature, sexy vibes there. It is a bright scent with that champagne note to add, and what that champagne note does to this fragrance is it makes it a very lively fragrance, one that has like that mood lifting component to it. You can certainly buy this one for the fruits and the florals. It doesn't have that vanishing act where it does have the fruits, but you literally have to dig to find them. You get to enjoy that fruitiness, especially for about 2 hours, after which it opens, it then starts to develop into a jasmine and a gardenia scent, ticking again the boxes for their floral lovers. It is a luxe, lush feel fragrance. That sandalwood adds an element of some luxeness to this fragrance, and it also is Western. If you are a person that is accustomed to a lot of fragrances, you may find the DNA complex, but not that special, okay, if you will. So it does feel like an extension of My Way, but when I say an extension of My Way, I'm just saying as though My Way was used as a base there, and then there was a little bit of some tweaking that went into the creation of this fragrance to kind of make it a little bit different. So it will feel a little bit like a flanker of My Way, but not outright. And if this helps, it's gonna feel like a maybe heavier flanker of it. When this jasmine opens, there is sort of like a shift that makes this one, you know, take a mature direction, and that, you know, might be off-putting for some, because if you wanted it to hold on to that bubbly, fruity, young feel, it may then start to confuse you and feel as though it's a mature leaning scent. So yes, that is what I can say, guys, about Lattafa Haya. Number 5, guys, is probably one that's going to have the most cons, and this is Safwaan Lautre Musk, because it's unusual. But anyway, we're going to start with the pros. Because of that musky DNA or musky build-up there, it layers well with a lot of fragrances. The other pro for this fragrance is it's gender neutral. This is genderless. I mean, anyone can wear this. If you fall in love with this scent, it is one that lives up to that unisex feel. There's going to be a little more cons for this one than the pros. The first one being it is an awkward scent. It is unusual. So that's going to take it off of being a safe blind buy. You may want to test this one before you pull the trigger. It is a DNA that a lot of people tend to turn anosmic to because it is molecular. So it's going to be a fragrance that some will say, I smell this, and some just totally don't get it. It does have a sour feel there, something that gives it like a detergent thing, which can be off-putting for some. For some, it's going to be the perfect lemony scent, but for some it's going to be a little bit on the, you know, off-putting side. Niche leaning, so it is risque. Niche fragrances are not particularly made to crowd please. So if you are going to purchase this one thinking, oh, okay, this is going to be crowd pleasing, this is not going to be crowd pleasing. And lastly, on those cons, guys, is it interprets differently from person to person. I am just telling you this based off my own experience. What I'm saying here might not resonate with some of you guys that have used this, is because the DNA in itself also has a tendency, you know, to translate differently from person to person. So that is it, guys, for the Lattafa Safwaan Lautre Musk. Next fragrance, which is our number 6 on this lineup, this is Lattafa Sondos. Okay, the packaging in itself is stunning. I mean, if you were looking for something to give to your mother, you know, or just a gift, you know, or to gift yourself, if you wear your fragrances because you like to be noticed, this is a fragrance that's going to get you compliments. It's not a shy fragrance. The second pro for this fragrance is caramel leaning and gourmand leaning. So if you're one of those people that love those sweet caramel leaning scents, then this is going to satisfy your nose in that regard. There is an element of familiarity, and when I say familiarity, I'm not in any way saying it is you know, one of those scents that are shabbily made. I think it's a well-made scent. Highly unlikely that if you like sweet scent, if you like your pineapple scent, if you like your caramel scent, it's highly unlikely that you will find this one challenging. Pricing does not equate quality on this one. This one is a well-made fragrance, also lasts all day. So having said that, I'm just going to tell you one or two cons. Okay, the DNA in itself, to cap it as unisex, is a bit misleading. I'm going to say it is 85% feminine leaning and maybe 15% is going to do it for the gents out there. Another con for this fragrance is the sweetness may be too much for even those people that love sweet fragrances. This is an upbeat sweet fragrance, you know, non-relenting, no chill sweet fragrance. So it might just come across as a bit too much for some people. The last thing about this fragrance is some people may find it a little bit, you know, synthetic and maybe not really making the mark in terms of being 100% gourmand. So yeah, that's all I can say, guys, in terms of the cons for this fragrance. So that is our number 6, and this is Lattafa Sondos. Our number 7, guys, is off that line, the one that had Haya and Iman, and this one's called Sakeena. If you're a fruity fragrance lover, this is going to give you a fruit burst. There's a lively mood lifting scent, another attribution there that makes it you know, a positive fragrance overall. And then the third thing being the fruits here are well represented. Not only are they listed, but you are also going to experience and enjoy them, okay, because you get the fruits, and then of course a dry down of an introduction of toffee and you know, that praline there, making it lean a bit caramelly. So absolutely one, you know, that leaves up to the fruitiness without, you know, playing disappearing acts there. It's a perfect gourmand, okay, with those notes, those fruit notes really interpreting as edible. So if you are into gourmands, this is probably gonna do it for you. The con I can say about this one is the lasting power. The lasting power on this one really is going to be dependent on the number of sprays. If you go light on this fragrance is going to disappear, you know, on you. So it is a fragrance that you may have to overspray for you to really enjoy this. A second con for this fragrance is some may find it juvenile, some may find it a bit plasticky and synthetic, because that is its DNA. That's how it's made up. So you are either going to like that or you don't like that. And the last thing is going to be the versatility for this fragrance. This is going to limit the wearer. Of course, you wear what you want wherever you want to wear it, but the fruitiness in here can be a little too much, stereotyping this fragrance to probably a very summery tropical scent, if you will, as opposed to something that you can, you know, just reach for all year round. So that is what I have to say, guys, the pros and cons of Lattafa. Now, our last 3 are going to be from Maison Alhambra, and if you're not familiar with Maison Alhambra, it is a subsidiary of Lattafa. So these are also new releases from Maison Alhambra for the year 2023. So the first one is going to be Glacier Belle. So Glacier Belle looks like this, and it is obviously inspired by Jean-Paul Gaultier's La Belle, and interpret perfectly. It's going to smell like it. It's going to remind you of it. This is going to take you there. If La Belle is your favorite scent, then this one's going to deliver in that regard. It has a prominent pear here. I feel this pear comes in to neutralize this, you know, kind of preventing it from becoming a syrupy sweet fragrance, which is something that you will get from the original. The last pro for this fragrance I'm going to say it's obviously an affordable option, guys, for Label if you wanted that fragrance or you love that fragrance, because the Maison Alhambra fragrances are very much on the affordable side. Talking of the cons now, this fragrance fails to hold on to that opening, which is something that I feel it should have. So this is going to be, okay, inspired by Label Intense, but doesn't really match up to the Intense performance. So I wouldn't class this as a winter scent, if you will. So that's what I had to say, guys, about Glacier Belle by Maison Alhambra. The second from the last on this lineup, guys, is going to be Alive Now. Alive Now is your Fruit Burst. So this is going to be a fragrance that's going to be very ideal for anyone who's crazy about fruity fragrances. And I'm talking about a realistic representation of the raspberry and the lychee. The fruitiness in here holds on for the longest time. So it's definitely going to serve a decent dose of that fruity feel. My nose, the fruitiness doesn't come across as childish. You know, this kind of scent profile is easy to cross over to like a Bath and Body Works or Victoria's Secret kind of feel. I don't get that here. I get a mature leaning, you know, fruitiness there, and especially when the rose enters the mix and then, you know, just neutralizes everything. So this doesn't give me childish vibes, but we're going to get back to that particular point in the cons. This is a beast. So if you're looking, you know, for a fragrance that's going to match the original, that is duping in terms of performance, in terms of how it translates, then definitely this is one for you. The performance, guys, is insane. Number one con for this fragrance is the fruitiness there may somewhat interpret as synthetic for others because it is a bit too fruity, okay, for some people. Second con here is that unapologetic fruitiness. Again, I would say maybe off-putting to a point where this might be judged too quickly. Somebody enters the store, they sniff it, and they just, oh, I'm done, it's just too much. Okay. And then the last thing being, you know, you might find this might be found by others, it's just another typical fruity scent. So it's that same point that I did say was a pro, maybe a con for others. It's another one that's going to come across as linear, giving you that fruity to a point that you know, by the time the florals kick in, you've probably just gotten accustomed to the fact that this is just a fruity scent. And yeah, guys, that is what I can say about Maison Alhambra's Alive Now. Number 10 is one that I posted last week or this week, if you will. Okay, I've been a bit under the weather, so my videos have been all over the place. This is Maison Alhambra's Panther Palm. Now, a pro for this fragrance is obviously duping Phantom, a 2021 release, and the PR that was around that fragrance. It's gonna, you know, spark a lot of interest, people wanting to know or to just purchase it blindly, and the price is obviously right. Second pro here is it has a triple dose of lavender, so it's gonna be any lavender lover's dream. So marketed for men, this has a sweetness there that just comes in, you know, like a sweet burst, and may make it appeal to the females out there. But I'm gonna say yes, the DNA is 85% masculine leaning, but if you're a woman, because it does have that little touch of sweetness, it will be a fragrance that you may be able to carry. Another pro for this fragrance is going to be the versatility, obviously, because of that, you know, casual, usual DNA. It's going to be a fragrance that fits a lot of occasions. Now, moving on to the cons. The cons for this fragrance, guys, are DNA-wise, this is nothing special. This has been done a gazillion times. I personally haven't smelled Phantom for Men by Paco Rabanne, but when I did smell this, I was like, oh, okay, is that what it is about? Okay, so the DNA here is, of course, crowd-pleasing, but it's not going to work. Lasting again with this fragrance is going to be the lasting power. Definitely one that you may need to reapply unless you overspray. So that's it about you know, Maison Alhambra's Panther Palm. That wraps up this video, guys. I hope you did find this interesting enough. These are new releases from Lattafa, and I thought to group them this way in case some of you guys are not interested in the singular reviews where I break down the fragrance in itself and we decode it. Maybe some of you just want to know what's the positive and what's the con for these fragrances, and I thought to bring you 10 so far. There's obviously more that I've been seeing popping out, so there are going to be more that we're going to bring on this channel, but for now, these we have done full reviews of. I will link everything in the description description box below. CeeChronicles is my name. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. Let's meet in the comment section where we obviously discuss more about fragrances. Do you own any of this, and what are the pluses and the negatives for the ones you own? I would love to know that in the comment section. Turn on post notifications, guys. That way you get to be notified anytime I upload a video. Like and share this video, guys, and most importantly, please do consider subscribing if you haven't already. And remember that smelling good is a form of good manners. Cheers.